So my name is Gabrielle Neamtan Lapalme. It is not an easy name to say, lots of letters. I am the Assistant General Director of SHAPEM. So SHAPEM is a nonprofit housing society established in 1988. And yes, I was born, but no, I wasn't there. I've been there for 5 years around. Our philosophy of action is that housing is not an end, but a mean for social transformation. And this is what I want to demonstrate. We strongly believe that the financial autonomy that comes with land equity gives us the potential to innovate and act out of the beaten tracks. Behind that is an even more fundamental dream or premise to build an economic model that can be self-sufficient. So after celebrating our 30th anniversary, SHAPEM now manages more than 1,700 units, 1,000 of them which we own, and the rest we manage for other nonprofits. We are present in 7 municipal districts, mainly in the east of Montreal, but we concentrate our efforts in a territorial approach in Hochelaga-Maisonneuve and Montréal-Nord, which are 2 of the poorest areas of Montreal, but are very different. So the story begins in Hochelaga-Maisonneuve, in what was once called a working-class neighborhood, where ravaged by désindustrialisation, and where poverty and criminality issues were calling for action. So we began buying small and bigger buildings in order to secure them for social housing, but with the goal of helping families and individuals to live better. At the same time, we were then called a Société acheteurs, so a buying society, securing assets and passing them in social programs. At the same time, this SHAPEM, Montreal agency, was also buying very specific problematic buildings in different neighborhoods and giving them to organizations like us to manage. So it became our specialty to turn them over into something positive for the community. And we used them as social laboratories to do different sorts of partnerships in and around them to create new dynamics and social impacts. SHAPEM was becoming an instrument for land control and community improvement, but it was clear for us that SHAPEM had to be understood as a mean for social transformation and urban improvement. And the biggest learning of that period, I would say, is that just giving a subsidized, nice apartment to someone in a still very problematic neighborhood felt like imprisoning them. We had to involve and bring together all sorts of actors to really change something. So we were successful and recognized for this expertise, but to improve our financial autonomy, we had to continue to grow assets. So in 2005, we got a call to involve in Montréal-Nord, a whole new neighborhood that we didn't know about. Well, we knew it existed, but our expertise in criminalized and problematic buildings was requested. And this project also implied a lot of financial risks. So it had to be taken by a group that was able to take those risks. So SHAPEM started working there. And at that time, we were getting out of what we always knew, which is downtown historical poverty, and discovering first and second generations of immigrants stuck in a peripheral neighborhood managed as if they didn't exist. So we bought the first building that was owned by the gangs with a provincial program. Then the gang moved to the next building, and so we decided to buy it. Then families told us, well, this is very nice, but we're stuck in very small apartments and our families are growing, so we need bigger apartments. So we bought 3 other buildings and transformed in 4 and 5 bedrooms apartments. So we were building confidence. People were liking this approach. And this urban operation, and this is very important, because our expertise is housing. We don't have all the expertise, and this is the model, was conducted with a citizen mobilization group called Paroles d'Exclus. It's Voices of the Excluded. Our idea together was to create a model of action to fight poverty that could be replicated in different parts of the city. So really a model, and you have the system of actors there. So it's complicated. It's co-construction, and the idea is SHAPEM has to buy a significant amount of apartments, and Paroles d'Exclus works in our buildings with our tenants, but also with the whole community, to identify their needs and aspirations with researchers at the same table with citizens and us. Once now in a community-owned apartment, people started talking, and they raised food insecurity as a big issue to improve their condition. So there was a big parking lot behind all the buildings we just bought, and in order to control it, we had to buy the buildings on the other side of the city block, and so we did. And also with a private fund. And because we owned the land, we were able to transform this heating island, criminalized city block in front of a high school, so that was problematic, into a luxuriant garden where people practice agriculture. They have beehives on our roofs, and they want eventually to raise chickens. Problem is it's not permitted, but they'll fight for it. That's the goal of it all. I usually say these people didn't necessarily improve their income, but they are now empowered to work together to fight isolation, discrimination, and food insecurity as examples, and eventually then poverty or consequences of poverty. This was the second evolution of our vision. To operate change, we had to work with the population and not for the population. I know everybody says that, but to radically do it is not that simple. Last week, I got a message on my telephone. It was a tenant saying, well, Gabrielle, the two of the last block you don't own are not for sale. We need SHAPEM to buy them. So that was reconforting, because in that sense, SHAPEM is his society too. In 2008, when a young man was killed in another part of Montréal Nord, which is called the Northeast, he was killed by police officers, and riots escalated because it raised that this part of the city was really an area of exclusion, and it is one of the poorest areas in Canada. It was soon requested that the model we were working on be replicated there, so the idea was working. And this time, though, the scale is way bigger, so we have to purchase a lot more buildings, and we need financial tools, but I'll let the other ones talk about our needs. For me, these experiences had a much bigger impact over time, and it is a systemic impact, and I think it's the goal. The city borough was forced to change its way of doing urban planning and social development. They saw what we were doing with the population, working with them, and they understood a new way. In 2017, a 10-year process for urban planning, participatory urban planning, was initiated for this sector. I'm at the center of this project, and I can feel the change. It is not cosmetic, because the city and its community partners, with the support of researchers
and citizens are taking the problem head on and putting social issues at the heart of the process. I think this way we are truly building resilient communities. Thank you.